Hello, thank you for joining us in another episode of From Another Zero. It's the third episode. I am very excited. I am Alejandra Enciso Dardashti, recording from the Tijuana-San Diego border. Today we're going to talk to Freedome Bradley-Ballentine, Arts Engagement Director and newly appointed Associate Artistic Director of the Old Globe Theater in San Diego. We're going to talk about arts engagement, accountability, adapting during pandemic times, hope for theater, and everything in between. A reminder that From Another Zero is also a blog, and you can check that out at FromAnotherZero.com, that we're going to be talking about local mom and pop shops to support that are not limited to territory, but we are going to talk about them this episode in San Diego, and also an organization or charity that we need to learn about. And the thought of the week is also up. It comes up every Friday on the blog, FromAnotherZero.com. If you can follow us also on Instagram at FromAnotherZero, zero with number, and like us on Facebook, From Another Zero, zero with number. And then the website is also From Another Zero, zero with number. So this is From Another Zero. Here we go. Freedome Bradley-Ballentine. How are you?
Freedome Bradley-Ballentine. That's me. Yep.
Welcome to the Zero, Freedome. Thank you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. This is a big honor for me,
As well.
I hope that we have a translator for all your millions of followers in, Tijuana, Mexico City.
We're trying to get there. We're trying to slowly but surely. But yes, we created this platform for, artists and people to talk about their work, and kind of like also people that sometimes don't get the opportunity, So, yeah.
Well, once I get on, ratings through the roof.
You have a big following. So. Okay, let me tell people here, if, they're living under a rock and don't know who you are. But you've been the Arts Engagement Director at the Old Globe Theater in San Diego for a little over 4 years now.
Yes, going into 5 years.
I can't, it's, wow, how time flies.
You were one of the first people I met when I got here.
I know, from New York to San Diego, and I get a call, and they're like, there's this person, he was just appointed to this new position, and he wants to meet you, and I was like, okay.
And there was this person that they said knows everybody in town and is a big influencer, and you have to meet her. And I said, oh, yes, of course.
It was great.
Maybe she'll take time out of her busy schedule to meet with me.
Freedome, the person responsible to bring me back to the workforce.
Yes.
I was like, no, thank you. Thank you so much, but no, thank you. And you were like, well, I'll wait, he said.
You're a very talented woman.
Thank you. Talented. I learned a lot working with you, and I want to talk about this because it's so important. And you were just recently appointed as the Associate Artistic Director as well. So this is like you're gonna do both things.
Yeah. This is like kind of like I have a bunch of titles now. Yeah. I feel like, like Haile Selassie, like His Imperial Majesty, King of Kings, Lord of Lords, Conquering Lion of the Lion of Judah. Like I have a whole bunch of titles now, showing you how important I really am in my own mind.
You're gonna need like what, 2 more brains or something, like
well, it's really been great. Being at the Globe has really changed, not changed who I am, but it's validated some of the thoughts that I've had about how you go about creating community, and how you go about making an organization more accountable, more transparent, and more vital to people that may not have had that much interest in it. but then also making it more vital to people that even had interest in it in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's been wonderful being here at the Globe, just to be around people that are so passionate about the work that they do, and passionate about making theater vital and important to people. And we've seen a lot of that, especially now, post COVID,
Yeah.
and in addition to that, dealing with a 100-year flu, but then also dealing with a 400-year reckoning around race in America. So the work that we do now is really important. I've been taking on a lot more responsibilities there, as we look at equity, as we look at transforming our society and our organization into an anti-racist haven, an anti-racist organization. It's been a really exciting time to be at the Globe. Stressful to be in this country, but also just hugely rewarding, and looking at it, and looking at like the opportunities that are out here.
And for people that are not as familiar with theater, let's say, the Old Globe in San Diego is one of the top.
It's one of the largest. It's the oldest theater company, professional theater company in California, and it's one of the largest theater organizations in America. It has a $30 million operating budget. In California, that budget is second behind Center Theater Group, which is in Los Angeles.
LA.
But it's won Tony Awards. It has been we got an award from the Voice and Viewpoints, which is the African American newspaper, the Black newspaper in San Diego, a few months ago. I was really proud of that, because that was a relationship that we had to really continue building on. I remember when I first got to town, there were people that were like, looking at the Globe as a place that it was a transactional relationship. Like we were around when we wanted to sell tickets to you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then it was like, oh no, we're actually around for not our events, we're around for your events. So we're going into communities and being a part of the Day of the Dead. We're going into communities and being part of Juneteenth. We're going into communities and being a part of all these other things that the community finds to be important, all this other culture that we're having an opportunity to participate in, to learn about, and to work with. So it's been awesome being at the Globe.
A lot of work. Yeah, and I know that, and I mean, well, I saw it firsthand, but it's there was a before and after, because there's a difference, and I would like you to help us understand that difference between arts engagement and community outreach. There's a difference there.
Yeah. I mean, like, outreach is pretty much, it's not as concerned with let me just be frank, how I look at it. I look at engagement as going into communities and talking to neighbors and finding out what they're really into and what they want to do, and how you can be a part of the experience of being in that neighborhood. I look at outreach as an organization going into a community and saying, this is what we think that, this is what we do well, and this is what we think you need. So there's not a real conversation that's going on. There's not a conversation going on. Let's just say that. And we want to make sure that we're always having conversations with communities when we're entering there, and that there's also a component of it that has the community creating art around what they find to be important. So we don't want to just go in and say, hey, here goes a program, sit back and enjoy it. That's cool. And for some folks, but for us, we want to do a little bit more. We want to bring people into the center of what the Old Globe is doing. We want to bring people into the center of what is happening at the Old Globe, and we want to be in the center of the community as well.
Yeah, and also change that perception, right? Because it's not, yes, the Globe as being one of the largest ones, but also a little bit throughout San Diego that it's a very Caucasian white, right?
Mm-hmm.
Places,
Mm-hmm.
plural, because it's not
Mm-hmm.
one. So you've also helped, bridge that and
Yeah,
amplify the voices.
there were a lot, like the Globe has been around for 85 years.
Yeah.
And it's meant a lot to people in San Diego. It's if you go there, you see people that have been there, that have came there as children, that experienced it as adults, and now experience it as senior citizens.
Mm-hmm.
And that's important. But we wanted to make sure that other people, that moved here or that were here in other places that didn't have that same relationship got to have that relationship. And we needed to have that relationship with them.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about making theater matter to more people. We talk about, being in service of the public good. And the only way that you can be in service of the public good is actually being with the public.
Exactly.
And being in, it was important that we consume a lot of resources in San Diego. So it's also, we have a responsibility to replenish a lot of resources in San Diego as well.
Mm-hmm.
And that means that we have to be in all of San Diego. We're in every city council district in San Diego. We're in San Ysidro. We're in Oceanside. We stretch the whole of the city of San Diego, and then are throughout the county as well. We're in Santee, we're in Lemon Grove, we're in Chula Vista, we're in all these other cities that are inside the county of San Diego, and we have a very rich relationship with people. It's not transactional, like we actually care and want to know about what people are doing. Sorry, that was my phone.
Mm-hmm.
When you have family, you can't really turn the
pandemic
phone off.
times and working from home and
The
new normal.
Yeah, even though my studio is set up, I have my fresh studio set up here,
I see the little curtain backdrop and everything. Nice.
Everything's happening on Zoom. Everything's happening on Zoom. Everything's happening on video conferencing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to set something up, and I'm doing a lot of, like the Old Globe is doing a lot of work on online. I don't know if your viewers, hopefully, the people that are listening to this podcast can check us out. We're on YouTube, and you can find out how to make theater, how to make your own theater in your own house.
Yeah, and
on your own time with your own friends.
Taking notes here. Yeah, like we say in Spanish, there's a saying that volteó en un pie o volteó en una pata, which is like you just like turned on one foot and just like made it work, and everybody over at the Globe made everything digital or via online, right?
Yeah, but like the reach that we're having now is outstanding. Like I talked about your followers in Mexico City, but we have people that are watching our shows in Mexico City because we've done, like we have programs that are in all Spanish language.
Yeah.
So those programs, people are like, oh, you have something going on, and they're really well viewed. People want to know how they can make theater, how they can get involved in it and learn some lessons that we can share on there. It's been incredible. I had no idea that we would having people from Los Angeles to Lithuania looking at our programs.
Well, there's this demand, right?
Yeah.
There's this big demand, and people with the kids at home and all that, they need to get their creative juices going, and they need also an outlet.
You might hear some kids around here. We have a trampoline now because you can't take the kids anywhere.
Jump on there, get some energy.
So get on that trampoline and get that energy out, son.
Get that energy out, exactly. Yeah, because it's gonna, it's gonna take a while, and people.
That energy's coming out one way or the other. If you have kids, It's coming out.
And I always say it because I feel, well, I see it also that we're in this industry, and we're always, or usually, you know, the first ones in line for bad things, meaning budget cuts and all that, or, you know, in a syllabus or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And now, pandemic times, we're going to be the last in line probably to restart activities.
Yeah.
And you're seeing during these difficult times how the arts have kept everybody afloat,
Yeah.
and given people a little bit of, like you say, like an energy kind of medium there, and, you know, trying to figure stuff out or meditate or whatever. And I think that this is something that we need to continue to say and speak up about it, because we are, you know, the force behind everything, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's what gets you up to breathe, man, is the imagination, you know, and that's what art is. It's the physical manifestation of the imagination, you know, and that's an incredible thing. So we have people that dream something, and they need to recreate themselves on the arts because they've thought of something. They need to write it down. They need to act it out. They need to perform it. You know, they need to have this outlet to explain what's happening to themselves, you know, or even to disappear into something that's not happening to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it's what the art allows us to do is, you know, reimagine what this world can be. We're going to be doing some things on protest art, you know, and trying to connect with that. Like, how do you make really good protest art? How do you use how do we use art for our civic practice?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how can we use art to help change the world in which we're in? And that's incredible. You know, like so many new things have come out of this pandemic. So many things that we would not have, that we were always looking to do, but never had the time to do.
Mm-hmm.
So it allowed us to take a chance and take a breath and say,
yep,
what could we do? You know, what should we do? And what will we do?
Mm-hmm.
And it's been a great, as painful as it's been, and, you know, and I don't want to minimize people that are going through real struggle right now, and people that have lost, you know, family members in this country, people that have been devastated by the economic instability that's been going on right now. But the arts gives ways for people to process that, for people to think of ways to move out of that. And that's the good that's come out of this. You know, everything is always a double-edged sword, you know, yin and yang. You know, there's always, for everything that's bad that's happening, you know, in physics, for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. Mm-hmm. So with all the bad that's going on, there is good in the world, and we're trying to use art to get to it.
Yeah. And it's a magical way. And I think that, like you said, there's new things that have come out of this, and you're thriving and you're listening. I think that's also the big key to this. And that's what you started with, listening.
And that's the practice right there. That's the whole thing. You know, you gotta listen. You have to listen. You know, you're not listening, you're missing.
I'll apply that one too. Along with the tulips walk that you told me before we went on the recording. So tell me about this associate artistic director situation. Like, what's going to happen? How is it going to look like? This is exciting news as well.
You know, I was thinking of how I could be of further use, and how to stay engaged. You know, like we're at a great company, and the company's, you know, doing magnificent. It's doing well. I'm talking about before COVID, please. You know, like we're
Yeah, there's also that.
It's
There's also that.
it was before all of this happened,
Okay.
you know. So we're talking about in January, February, you know, when things were, you know, like what's going on? But I was like, you know, how do I stay engaged with this place? You know, everything's running really well, and I thought that, you know, that this is what I would like to do. I'd like to do some of the things that I was doing in New York, you know, like developing relationships with artists, with new artists, with artists that are up and coming, with artists that, you know, that haven't had an opportunity to show all that they can do. I was feeling a little disconnected as well from just the creation of some of the work that that was happening on our stages.
Mm-hmm.
So I wrote a proposal of where I saw myself, and then COVID came, and I was instantly re-engaged. You know, like I was instantly like, oh, you know, like, well, we're gonna create these programs. We're gonna be able to pivot. We're gonna be able to do these things. We're gonna be able to connect with more people, and it was going really, and that was like really validating and really important. And we saw what would happen when an engagement department, you know, pretty much what would happen if an engagement department took over your institution.
Wow.
That's what we found out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what was going on, and we were really, you know, like we were really setting the pace for what the organization was doing. And then the artistic department grew into it, and the humanities department grew into it, and it was like all of these departments were growing into this way of creating work that was people focused. And I totally not thought about, you know, the thing that I wrote in my proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And Barry Edelstein, my boss, the Erna Fitzy-Viterbi artistic director of the Old Globe, called me up one day and he said, hey, you know, I just looked through my bag, and the proposal that you sent to me before COVID, I just got a chance to look at it, and it looks great. We should do that. So then I was like, oh man, yeah. So that's how you get 2 titles in your life.
Wow.
So
yeah, that's.
So he said I really like what you proposing, you know, what you plan on doing, and the work that you've done over the last few months, you know, pretty much, you know, it's just that it was the work that I was doing was validating the choice of that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, it was really, you know, it was really impactful, you know, like I didn't know how impactful it would be until it happened, you know, and what it meant to a lot of people in the country, you know, and what it meant to a lot of people in San Diego, a way to continue supplying the resources to create, to showcase, to focus on their stories, you know, to bring other people into the fold, into the tent of the Old Globe. You know, it's a big thing. It's a big thing because the thing, you may not know me for what I will do, but you can know me from what I have done.
Mm-hmm.
So my reputation, you can just look at what I've done, you know, over my career, and you can say, well, he's probably going to do something like that. And you'd probably be right that I'm going to do the things that I've continued to do.
Uh-huh.
And that's partially, you know, and that's always going to be listening to what people want and desire, and how to be, and how to bring more people in, and illuminate voices that haven't been heard before.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great thing and very much needed, I think.
Yeah.
What was I gonna ask you?
Nobody wants the same old stories, like, even though they're all the same old stories, but like everybody has their different spin to put on them, like, and I want to hear about, like, you want to hear about those stories of people that are from different cultures, and how they relate to me and my culture, and how they relate to all of us, and how they pull us together as a society. The richness of your life in Tijuana influences me and validates my life as well in Harlem, because we've gone through so many of the same things. And you go to these places and you realize that, wow, she's had a very similar life to my life. And I've had a very similar life to her life, and we've grown apart, and we've grown in opposite ends of the of America.
The coasts.
Coast, and everything in between, and language differences and all that, but it doesn't really matter, because you can tell me your story in Spanish and I could still understand it. Like I remember when I commissioned this group to perform this piece in all Spanish. And I actually liked the piece that they did it in Spanish and in English. I liked it better in Spanish. I understood the storytelling. It was clear. Like you knew what they were talking. You know what people are talking about. People can give you a vibe of it, and that's important. It makes you listen.
Yeah, exactly. And also, representation and having the right people, the right casting also telling those stories. I think that's also very important and something that needs to continue to be worked on.
Yes, right? Yes. Well, there was this incredibly powerful document that was set around. I was one of the signers of it. We See You White American Theater. And although all of it, there were people that were able to see the truth of what's happening to people of color. And that's my daughter. I don't know if you can hear her in the background. All right, she's out there with
some sound effects here.
They are jumping on the trampoline, man. And I'm sorry, y'all. She's all right. She's all right.
It's excitement.
She's just two, and she is the power in the house. She's not used to hearing the word N-O. So I'll go back to this. We were this We See You White American Theater, and there were, it was a powerful document. It is a powerful document. It's a living document. It provides a pathway for some theaters in America, for really most theaters or all theaters, to move forward and be more pluralistic. But the document itself, when I was reading through it, like I had already known, they were calling on people to do this work, and I was like, we were already doing this work. Like we were doing this work, like when George Floyd was murdered, the Globe, we took a week off of our programming. And at that time, our programming was jam-packed and we were doing a lot of different things. But we had to pause because it was devastating.
Yeah.
It was devastating to see a lynching on television, in 2020, and to see a man, watching him have the life choked out of him and calling for his mother. It was devastating. It was devastating to people and shocking to some people. And we knew that we needed to listen to what our community needed to say at that point, and we needed to figure out how we could be an organization that was supporting Black people in San Diego, and becoming a more anti-racist organization supports all people in San Diego. And we came out of a meeting with 24 Black theater artists, and that began. That gave us a pathway to see how we could be more supportive, to see how we could do some work, and then that led to different to other people within the organization adding on to how we could be a better 501c3, a better not-for-profit, be more in service to the public good. And I'm really excited about that. That's the work that I've really been working on at this point. You know, talking to community members. We had a big meeting last night for our community advisory council. It's about 24 people from different sectors of this of the city and different parts of our organization. We have board members, you know, executive leadership. We're having a conversation about focused around acknowledgement of past practices that were both detrimental and beneficial. So we want to eliminate the things that were detrimental, and we want to augment the things that were beneficial. And we want to find a way that we can atone for those things that were detrimental, and do that publicly. And then we want to come out with an action plan of how we move forward. Yeah. That will have accountability to it and transparency within it. So that we don't just come up with words and then that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty on paper, right?
Yeah. You know, the thing that we tend to do though is that we put these words on paper and I mean, you've been at the Globe. We actually utilize that paper, you know, like when we look at our vision and values, you know, whenever, you know, you've been in meetings with me and all right, how does this relate to transformation, to impact, to stability, to, you know, see, I'm giving you a flashback.
Back to the values, Alejandra.
You know, like,
it's
the thing. It's the thing.
Plan right there. Go to the values.
It's the thing. You know, and we're gonna put together an anti-racist plan. Yeah. It's gonna be the thing, and it's gonna impact us, and we're gonna look at everything through that lens. You know, so it'll be another layer on the lens, you know, like it'll be another filter that we filter things out for, you know, like how is this thing excellent? How is this thing, you know, like all those values that I just said, but how does this work that we're creating? How does this look through the lens of anti-bias, anti-racism? You know, and we have to really do that, you know, like how are these plays doing that, you know, like who's coming into these things. So we're busy doing that work right now, and this work was not, you know, this work may be it may have some of it that will utilize the We See You White America document, but it's not, I mean, like we've been doing this work before that, you know, like we were doing this work before that. So it may be influenced by that, but it's not driven by that. It's not driven by, you know, like this thing of, you know, like a fear. It's not driven out of fear. It's driven out of our need to live up to our values. Yeah. You know, these are the values that we've been stating. These are the values that we've been saying since I've been here. For 5 years, we've talking about making theater matter to more people. We've been talking about the public good. So that's what's making us have these changes at the Globe. You know, is that the community has asked us to do this. You know, the community has asked us, and we've asked the community, how can we be more of service? And they said, well, you can be more of service if you do these things right here. So we're figuring out how to do these things right here. Yeah. and it's exciting. Yeah. It's exciting, you know?
Well, yeah, and it needs to be too, you know?
I love it, man. I love it. I'm very happy at this place.
Well, I'm glad that's how it should be. And I think, I mean, being an insider at this point for all of us. In order to figure out what might happen or what's going to happen, we need like a crystal ball, right? But because challenging and
the crystal ball needs a crystal ball.
The crystal ball needs a crystal ball. Exactly. But being inside Freedom, like for example, well, we've seen in Broadway, you know, when this started and then Broadway put a counter that things were gonna start up again in April, right? And everybody, I had a ticket to New York for April, and I was like, oh yes, I hope this happens so I can take my flight and do whatever, everything that I had planned, blah, blah, blah. And then we're like, it's not gonna happen, is it? You know?
And then 145,000 deaths later.
Right? And then it was like September, and then it's like, no, it's not going to be September. It's going to be 2021. And then, you know, Broadway says January, possibly, or whatever. And then San Diego says, no, March or spring. So you're inside. What do you see? I mean, it's a very tough question, but, you know, hope-wise, there's people that are saying, how many more Zooms can I do? You know, give me something. Give me something to hold on to. Like, how do you see it, like performance-wise, theater-wise, with this whole pandemic and this whole situation?
You know, Barry said this thing a couple of months ago, you know, and it's still true, that things that you think are outrageous, impossible on Monday, become standard operating procedure on Friday.
Yeah, that's what's been happening. Yeah.
You know, he said something like that. He said it more eloquent, you know, but that's to art thou that happens on Mondayeth. Messing with you, Barry. You know, but things that I don't know, you know, like we plan and we have contingencies that this is what's going to happen. And then the day comes and it changes. I don't know. The only thing that I can guarantee that we will be is adaptive, you know, that we will adapt to what the situation calls for, and that we will have plans that are based on that. You know, we have plans to come back. We have plans to do work in person. We have plans to do work remotely, digitally, and we have plans to do a mixture of both.
Yeah. So
whenever we can come back, we'll be able to come back with something. And if we're not able to come back in that way, the globe will still be there. You know, we'll still be there as an organization and as an institution that is connected to our community, because that's our value. You know, like as long as that's what your value is, then you always can come back to that. You know, like if it's that thing about putting something on paper and being able to look at it that I just talked about. You know, like we know that that's what our thing is. So whenever we start straying or start, you know, wondering what can we do, we go back to those things, and then that helps to give us clarity on what we can do and what we will do and then what we should do.
Very well put. And speaking of that and keeping on brand, which is, you know, very appropriate for what we're living, what we're going through right now, the title of this podcast is From Another Zero, right? And this is, a lot of people don't really get it.
What does it mean? Tell us, Alejandra. What does it mean?
It's a reset. It's a reset. It's a restart. And it's, you know, the usual saying, well, you have to start from zero. Well, here's another zero, because it's with your essence, with your experience. And after that, you just can't start from zero. That's from another zero. So that's been one of like my mantras
That is
for,
the
for a
great
while.
one.
For
That
a
is a great
while.
one. Thank you for explaining it to me. That is great.
And I always say from another zero, and people will be like, from another O, what is that? I don't get it. Is that
Another
even
zero.
correct? And I'm like, oh my God, open your mind, you know.
Yeah.
But with that said, we always,
If you put zero in a title, I'm sorry, it just sounds better. Like from another zero,
right? It's a reason.
less than zero, like the movie Less Than Zero, like from
Yeah.
another zero. It's just a great title.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
it works. And this is the alter ego in English of the podcast in Español, because it started out as Desde Otro Cero, which is its own thing in Spanish. And our listeners over there were also as, had the question and were also not understanding. And they're like, why don't you ask like your guests what their other zero is? And I was like, well, thank you, listeners. That's a wonderful idea.
See, that's the whole thing, though. The listeners listen to the people. The people will lead you forward.
Totally, and they help you mold it and transform it and make it this great thing. And we ask our guests what their other zero is. So obviously, you have many.
I have, I have. The other, the first thing was to do programs in communities that didn't have access, that had limited access to the globe, for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. Then it was like, okay, now to do programs online with people that, have limited access to the arts, mm-hmm. and as a way to also, stay connected with the people that work at the Globe. Like we have a really talented group of teaching artists that, that saw all of their work dry up, but we were able to pivot. We were able to keep people, we were able to keep them employed and provide this service to our community. And then it's like, okay, now pivot again. Mm-hmm. The new zero is dealing with anti-racist, equity work, mm-hmm. Access, like that's been the next zero, gosh, those have been a couple of big zeros, mm-hmm. in our time here, mm-hmm. But I think that we want to think the next zero is planning out how do we moving from triage to wellness, mm-hmm. And not being so reactive to things, but being able to plot out and to plan how we think this new normal is going to be, so that's the next zero, like how we dealing with this thing that looks like it has, no ending.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Exactly.
Because we just said that the crystal balls need crystal balls, because mm-hmm. none of us know what that's going to be. Mm-hmm. So how can we now, still remain more than relevant? How do we stay in a place that people, because people depend on us, and how do we continue honoring that dependability?
Mm-hmm. Totally. Yeah. And those are great. I knew you had plenty. Those are great. Also, with everything that has been happening and interviewing, talking to different people, we also want to give back in a way, and contribute and again multiply the voices. So we ask our guests, for if you go to if there's this coffee shop that you like, this mom and pop shop, or store or little market, farmers market that you visit that you would like to give a shout out to, and a cause or charity or organization that also we could learn from, that we need to learn from.
Okay, so I love this Thai restaurant that's in my neighborhood called Bon Thai, Bahnthai. It's a wonderful, wonderful restaurant that has the best. I remember when my wife and I first went there, we're from New York, and we went there, and we were eating the food, and I was like, this food is really good. And I was like, And she was like, yeah, this food is really good. And I was like, I think this might be the best Thai food that I've ever had in my life.
Oh
And
my God.
he's like, I think that this might be the best Thai food that I've ever had in my life. So we come all the way to San Diego to have the best Thai food that we've ever had in our life. And it's Bon Thai. And we really love it. It's a great place. In Hill, they opened up a second location in Hillcrest right when the pandemic was starting.
Wow.
So they need help, you know, and they're really super careful with how they wrap the food and do all of that stuff. So please support Bon Thai.
Oh,
I think
cool. Yeah, we're gonna include it in the episode notes, so people can check it out. Mm-hmm.
You know, now as far as, look, if you're gonna support any theater, please support the Old Globe. But if you want to support another theater in addition to the Old Globe, I like Common Ground Theater.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Black theater in town, small theater, and they need support. You know, Black theaters in America are traditionally, you know, under-resourced.
Yeah.
So if you have the ability to donate, I would say donate to them, because they are, you know, a theater company, and we need to invest in Black stories right now at this time. So that's my charity. That's my 501c3.
I love it. It's a Common Ground Theater. It's in San Diego.
It's in San Diego.
Oh, we're gonna check it out. Definitely.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. Oh my God.
Oh my God. This time has gone past this fast.
Right? Well, it's important stuff that we need to talk about, and that we need to, you know, again, listen.
Yes. And I thank you so much for having me here. You know, ladies and gentlemen, Alejandra and I have not spoken for a few months now, you know, and she is a dear friend of mine, and I want to thank you for being there, and thank you for putting me in check about, you know, negligence earlier today. I love you.
Another episode.
I love you, Alejandra, and I just wanted to wish you so much good fortune in what you're doing. It's a voice. Your voice is a voice that is very sorely needed right now in our society, and it needs to be centered. And I love you, and give my best to the guy that is over there as well. All right.
Of course. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for everybody over there for helping us set this up. Lucia, Dave, everybody. My Globe family. I was a family member for a little bit, but very happy.
And had a huge impact. Your impact, we're still riding the wave of your impact. So thank you.
And I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you do over there in this new position, and your ongoing position, and all the work that's been happening, and a lot of new people to come along and experience that as well.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.